pixelated art design, cave exploration, and Kermit's long-lost brother. This is Saga of the Moon Priestess. When the game begins, we assume the role of a prince. We're in a castle with a violent storm brewing, and our father, the king, is nowhere to be seen. Leaving your quarters, you notice that the place has been ransacked, with the castle treasures being stolen. A mysterious figure appears and tells us that we must give up our freedom if our father is to be returned. We then take on the role of our player character, named Sarissa, an orphaned girl who has the ability to communicate with the goddess of the moon. After speaking with the goddess, she lets us know that we must save the prince. So, we sharpen our trusty spear and get to work. When we begin, all we have access to is our spear attack, as well as being told how we can save our game, which is by hitting statues with your spear. Yeah, I'm sure the architects would be over the moon of us damaging their prized work. You can destroy bushes and shrubs within the environment to reveal shiny beads, which are the game's currency, hearts, which recover your health, as well as restock weapon charges, which we will touch on shortly. Now, there's plenty of enemies in the overworld, with the ones early on being destroyed by your spear attack. Now, these ones look like Flubber, or the Wish version of Slimes from Dragon Quest.
Oh, geez, guys, we're flubbers.
Your attacks can only go up, down, left and right, whereas enemies can travel and attack you from multiple directions. Enemies can attack at range, which you'll need to evade, but the spear benefits from having a long reach to make up for this. As you progress through the game, you will unlock some ranged weapons that you can utilise. You've got access to an inventory menu, as well as a world map. Now, there's no indicators on where you need to travel to, so you pretty much have free reign on where you travel to first, but just note that you can't progress in some areas until you've obtained specific items. You'll be traversing through caves, woods, deserts, as well as icy mountains. When you're inside a cave, the game's minimap will display each room that you've stepped in. Most caves have a map that you can locate, which will highlight all parts of the cave on the map. In each room, you'll generally either need to kill enemies or solve a puzzle for the next door to open. If you are killed by an enemy, you'll respawn at the last save point you interacted with. If you're killed by an environmental hazard, a small portion of your health will be taken away, and you'll spawn at the entrance of the room. Now, you do gain access to a few ranged weapons, abilities as well as health upgrades as you play the game. I don't think any of these can be missed, and they're all equally effective, so I suggest just using your favourite. As mentioned earlier, most of these require charges which can be looted in the game world. Now, there are bosses in each sub-location, where you'll typically be using the new items you've obtained to kill them. Each boss drops a health upgrade upon defeat, but this isn't as helpful as you'd think, and yes, we'll revisit this shortly. There are NPCs scattered around the game world. You can interact with them, but they don't provide anything in terms of the story's narrative. Now, some of them need items, which you'll have to find and give them. This NPC thinks that this duck's up to no good. There's also some hidden entrances as well as chests scattered around, so just make sure to keep an eye out. There's also a vendor in the town that will sell you a few items. Now, I died a few times during a boss encounter, so I decided to travel back and pick up a potion. I thought I could buy a few potions, but you're limited to one. But I thought, that's okay, we'll make it work. This is where my first gripe comes in. To use my potion, I have to go into the inventory screen, which doesn't pause the fight, by the way. So, you end up taking damage whilst trying to equip your potion, making it slightly pointless. You then have to go back into your inventory screen after using your potion to equip your ranged weapon. I'll be honest, this f***ed me off. The cherry on top is that you have to travel all the way back to the vendor to get another potion. Now, this isn't actually a big deal, but if you die on the way back to the vendor, you respawn back at the cave you were just trying to leave. So I decided early on, it's just not worth going back to get a new one. Now, earlier in the review, I mentioned health upgrades not being as helpful as what you'd think. Well, why is that? When you die, you don't respawn at full health. I really don't understand why this was implemented in this way. But we should be thankful we respawned with any health at all, right guys? Most caves have sections that if you fall into, you'll lose health and respawn at the start of the room. I'm not sure how black holes made it into these caves, but they pulled me into death more times than I can remember. I'm not sure if I had a magnet in my boots, but yeah, it was f***ing annoying. The caves do get more puzzly, if that's even a word, so if that's your type of thing, I think you'll be at home with this type of game. Now, we did glitch into the scenery in one cave, rendering us unable to move and needing to quit the game to continue. This did result in a loss of progress. This boss got stuck in the corner, making my victory incredibly courageous, and not cowardly at all. Now, if you're impressed by those heroics, take a look at this act of combat intelligence. I call it the hit and run. To conclude, and we'll get straight to the point, this game wasn't for me. I found myself frustrated with some of the gameplay mechanics and just not enjoying it. There is an audience that will love this type of game. Old school Zelda players, I'm looking at you, but I'm not one of them. This game took me around 6 hours to complete, and I believe the game was £5, and that is good value for money. Do you agree or disagree with my take on the game? Let me know in the comments. Like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you want to see more content just like this. I'm Senor Donut, and I want to thank all of you very much for watching. Peace.
Oh, jeez, guys, we're flubbers. Flubbering around with our big... Flubbering. We're flubbering around with our big green, huge, massive flubber